How is everyone doing today, guys? My name is D Goads, and this is gonna be a bit interesting because so I just finished up my semester of school, and I will be heading back home in about a few hours. So the next video that I'll be posting, which is the Amphibia finale review, that'll be later today, of course, but I will be in a different location. But let's talk about this. This is I just saw the new episode of The Owl House. It was episode 38 of the series, or episode 19 of season 2. Oh Titan, where art thou? Funny play on words there, but man, this episode was interesting for me because, I mean, it was a great episode. This is definitely a more emotionally driven episode in terms of the past few. Like, I'm not saying that the last few weren't. It's just like when it came to Labyrinth Runners, there was a lot of action to counteract the emotional scenes. Well, not really counteract, I guess. Complement the emotional scenes, and then even like in freaking sorry, I'm ridiculously tired. Even in Edge of the World, you know, there was some action there too, and also there was a brand new location that kind of also complemented everything, and obviously some revelations. But this episode was really just, I wouldn't say like the definition of the gang's rock bottom. It's more of just taking a breather, I guess, because this episode really was, man, it was definitely an emotional one, but it was also just a small little episode where, you know, everyone's just taking in what's been going on, and obviously trying to figure out what's the best plan of action. And of course, it's like, well, not everyone has a plan, and it's gonna possibly, but there's definitely a lot to this episode as well that really adds more interest. One of which being the episode opens up with King having a dream with the Collector, which is a very intriguing dream because, to start, it's happening in the in-between, which is where I think that's what it's called. The in-between where Luce was in yesterday's lie, but while Luce didn't really see anything there outside of like the cubes, and maybe she heard a voice here and there, King's here, and it's in a not in the exact same spot, I don't believe, but he hears the Collector's voice, and the Collector's, you know, talking about how he'll be free soon. King, of course, like, asks hello. And I like this. The Collector is like, wait, is someone there? Wait, please, don't leave. Talk to me. Or like something like, just, it's clear that the Collector is happy to have someone to talk to, but at the same time, it's like, maybe it's something that could King reason with, but also it's like, it's King's connected to it in a way now because of what happened at Edge of the World. So it's like, there's a few questions that do come out of that. But however, he doesn't get time to talk to the Collector because Luce wakes him up and says that they're back in Bonesboro. So they obviously need to. Oh, Jesus. Okay. They need to get back to the Owl House, and Bellis is not messing around this time because the group, when they get to Bonesboro, there's wanted posters of all of them. Even Hootie has his own wanted poster, which was hilarious. But they get back to the Owl House, and it's just in shambles. Well, not really in shambles. Like, the house is still standing, but it's like it's completely withered of anything. And it's like everything has been confiscated, but sorry. Eda and Lilith, they did escape, which of course is like how couldn't they escape? It's like, of course they would get out of there. It's Eda's, and Lilith also is a bit clever. Like when Luce goes back to the Owl House and sees that Lilith wrote down hurt my knee, and it's like, go to the knee, and of course that's where Luce, King, and Hootie go to, and they find Eda and Lilith, who are completely dumbfounded as to what their next move should be, because I mean, in the current moment of time, they think it's just the two of them. They don't know about what happened at the school. They don't know what happened at what's been going on within the coven with Rain, Darius, and Everwolf, and who knows who else wants to be joining in. But it's clear that sooner or later they're gonna either have to come up with their own plan, which will either counteract or complement the other two groups that have been forming, or they'll find one of the groups and join in. And one thing I was a bit worried though about this episode, and I kind of when Luce, Hootie, and King show up, of course, one of the first bombshells that they drop is everything that Luce, King, and Hootie found out about this group that the letter was from, and that's being, these were Titan trappers, and King's a Titan, and the Collector is kind of like these Titan hunters' god. And it's like, yeah, it's like a lot of bombshells there. And of course for Eda, it's like, I can't believe I've been taking care of a Titan this whole time. And Lilith is just baffled by it too. And of course it's like she kind of starts, worshiping it. And he even make a joke later in the episode where it's just like, wait, is this how you acted with Bellows? Because I'm sensing a pattern here. It's yeah, it's not one of Lilith's, I would say, more serious episodes. I mean, despite the fact that multiple times throughout this episode, she kind of chews Eda out on not having a plan, and that they should tell Luce the truth, and that they don't have a plan per se. But, most of the episode is Lilith just either worshiping King or trying to find King, because there is a point in this episode where King kind of runs off, but I'll admit they did it in a very clever way that I wasn't too bothered by that, because I was like, I mean, it makes sense why King would run away or run off, just because he literally discovered that he is now a Titan. So I mean, he obviously has a lot to think about, and so I was just worried that he would just wander off and get lost or something. And I mean, a part of me was like, I don't think that would work in this situation. Like, personally, but the way they did it was so funny, because like Steve shows up. Or I mean, he doesn't really show up. Like, King finds Steve just hanging out in the local town, and Steve's just, he's just on his motorcycle, and he's just like, I don't know. He's like, I thought I had everything I wanted, but now I don't know. And it's totally relatable. It's just, I think we've all had that moment where it's like, we're either thriving for something, and then we get it, and like the payoff doesn't feel genuine, or we just like, once we get that, now we just have this emptiness. So in this case, King now, like King talks about in this episode, all he wanted, he wanted power, domination, control, like all those little things that he talked about in season 1, and even earlier in the season as well. But now that he realizes that he technically can do all those things because he is a Titan, he just feels an emptiness, because I mean, he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how he should feel about it. And Steve gives him some genuine advice, being like, well, your wants and needs and desires can change because of the people, maybe because of what happens, or maybe because of the people that you're around. And like, Steve really, I was so surprised with Steve. Like, it's just, I wonder if this was just, if this whole thing was planned, or like the fan base really got Steve to become a genuine character. But either way, he plays his part well in this episode by being kind of like that friend that King needs at the current moment of time. It's just like, literally, out of all the characters to be helping King in this situation, I did not expect Steve whatsoever. But it was great. I loved it. It was just the two of them exploring the Boiling Isles so King can kind of see what it's like, see, really, because it's like the Titan, so it's like he would want to go explore, understand what it is he'll soon become and all that. It's like, man. And I mean, of course, Lilith and Hootie were following them the whole time, and there was some comedic moments with that. Like, there's a Hootie copter moment, which honestly I was like, what? But yeah, no, it's that's pretty much what the B plot of this episode is. But it's a fun side story, and of course it is. There is a purpose to it, because I mean, it's like once you reveal to us that King is the very thing that we have been walking on for multiple seasons now, it's like, yeah, you might want time to dedicate some answers for it. But that's the kind of the B plot. The main plot of this episode is because Eda doesn't have a plan, she keeps it secret from Luce and says, oh, well, we'll let you in on the plan in a day or so, because that's when we're going to be executing said plan, because now the day Unity is like a couple days away. It's like, they gotta get to it. But, so Eda's like, we have one more day to do whatever you want. What do you want to do? And so Luce is like, I want to break into the precinct where they confiscated all our stuff and get Friendstall back, or King's little toy bunny, which is, I mean, makes sense because, I mean, again, with everything that's going on with King, Luce figures that he needs one of his little friends that comfort him, and so Eda agrees, and the two go and invade the precinct, and it's like, they get there and they're like, we need to come. Like, Eda's like, Bellis is not messing around. We gotta be smart. We gotta be quick. We gotta be thorough. And yet they disguise themselves as Coven Guards, and I'm like, what? I mean, it's just like, okay, that's a bit ridiculous, but I mean, it works. They get into the warehouse. They start looking around, and everything seems to be going well. And even Eda's like, okay, go find Francois. Oh, and if you find a box that says Eda's largest toenails, go get that too. But it's like, you think that's a joke in the current moment, but then you find out later in the episode, oh wait, wasn't exactly a joke. They're actually with a purpose for that. But Luce, of course, obliges and looks around. Eda starts looking around too, but then she overhears one of the guards in their office talking with Rain, who, of course, Rain's and the crystal is on the crystal ball, so they're calling them, and of course they're like, you find the owl lady, you got to do everything you can to find all that, yada yada yada, to get. And it's like, so of course, that probably means Rain wants to find Eda so they can like either keep him safe or finally bring him in and recruit them for the rebellion. Because I mean, at this point, it's like, if Bellis is this centric on finding them, probably best to take him now as the rebellion. It's like, why not? And of course, Eda. I even like Eda in this, she, after the guard leaves, Eda goes to call Rain, and Eda's like, I know you're not 100%, I know you're not 100% gone because you wouldn't have let me escape at the Coven Day Parade, and I'm like, that's smart. I mean, Eda, of course, it would make sense that Eda would know Rain well enough because of their relationship that she would know when they aren't fully themselves, but still have that genuine part of them. And even when Eda brings up what she knows about the Day of Unity and the draining spell, and like Rain's reaction to that, like Eda's like, I knew it. I know. It's like, it's that bad, isn't it? You gotta. And so Eda, of course, is like, I'll do whatever it takes to keep Luce and my family safe. So I'll give myself up to the Emperor if you can get Luce and King like away, like airship, bunker, something to keep them safe. And of course, Rain obliges to the deal, but it's like, well, we know what probably might happen. But Luce overhears the conversation, and that's when she realizes that, well, at least she doesn't fully understand in the current moment in time. She kind of misinterprets it as like Eda just doesn't want Luce in on the plan, and that she just wants her to be safe, and that it's probably because Luce is still a bit incompetent, but it's like, that's obviously not what it is at all, at least for the most part, because it's like considering everything that Luce has done in this show so far, it would make sense that Eda needs to at least think about having Luce join in, but at the same time, it's like, she doesn't want Luce to be part of anything more because of what we saw in Edge of the World, how Eda's like, I didn't think this would blow this much proportions and stuff like that. It's like, so, the two get into a fight both verbally and physically. It's just, what the freaking heck? Eda and Luce are just, it's not like a too physical of a battle. It's just like Luce is trying to escape because, it's like she wants to help. She wants to help stop Bellows, and of course she doesn't want to feel helpless in all this because of, everything that's happened. She wants to both stop Bellows and help, and also because she feels like that she can be a person that can help people. And so all of that is really insane and intense, and unfortunately it causes a lot of commotion, which brings guards in and leads to them being captured and all that. And so yeah, it gets really intense and really emotional, because I'll admit I wasn't entirely sure how this episode would play out, because I was like, on one hand, we are nearing the end of the season, so is it gonna be Eda gets captured again and Luce has to rescue her or something? I was a part of me was intrigued if that was the direction they would go, and a part of me was also worried if that was the direction they would go, because then it's like, oh, that's like season 1 all over again. But it's like, maybe they can change a few things up like they did in season 1 and make it, if they can do it right, or not really do it right, but like have a nice little spin on the first season. But I'm like, why would you want to do the exact same thing like that? Eda gets captured, Luce has to break in and rescue her. It's like, that wouldn't really work. But of course, after they get captured, Luce, is upset. She snaps at Eda, and then of course Eda finally has to reveal that there was never even a plan to begin with. And it's just like, she doesn't want Luce. She's like, we didn't have a plan, and I didn't want you to worry. And then the fact that Bellows, it's like, we have no allies, we have nothing. It's like, all I have is you, and I don't want to lose that. So it's like, everything is so emotional. And of course, Luce is like, I'll do whatever you... It's like, once Luce finds that out, that's when she's like, I'll do whatever you want. Just do something. Fight back. Just do something. It's like, but it's seemingly clear that Eda is defeated, both... mentally defeated, because she doesn't even try to fight back once the guards get her. And it's just like, Luce is taken away as well, and it seems like everything is gonna go south. But I'm like, at least for Luce, I was like, well, someone's probably gonna rescue her. And I was like, that was my original thing. It's like, oh, Rain's probably gonna rescue Luce, and then they'll have to go find Eda. But it's like, nope, actually, Rain arranged it where Luce and Eda would both be captured and taken to the forest, and that was where they all join up with members of the Bards Against the Coven. So the bats, they're all rescued by I guess they were, since Darius was the one who caught them and was at the time an enemy, but now is an ally, because it turns out Darius was the first one to start forming a rebellion, or at least that's what he says. He's like, you weren't the first one to feel like that something was a bit suspicious about this Day of Unity thing. It's so, currently right now our team is, they meet up with, of course, Lilith, Hootie, King, and Steve. So like, there's that team, there's the Bats, there's Rain, there's Darius, there's Everwolf, and then of course there's Luce and Eda. So this is the new rebellion that's been forming, and of course it's like, if they actually team up with Hexside, all of a sudden that rebellion's gonna grow a lot more. So But then Rain even says I love Rain. I love Luce's interaction with Rain because I mean obviously everything that Edith's told about Rain, and even Rain talks about how Edith's talked about Luce since they got there. It was so much fun. It's a fun scene between the two. And then I even love Luce being like, oh, do we have a cool rebellion name? And Rain's like, as a matter of fact, we do. And I love Darius is like, no, I did not agree to this. And it's instead of the bards against the throne, it's the covens against the throne. So instead of bats, we got cats. And I love Luce just pulling up her cat hoodie. It's like, everything's come full circle. Just why the heck not? So after all of that happens, we then have of course, the group, they go into the camp, they have everything, and, King gets reunited with Francois that Luce found when they were exploring the warehouse, and then, Eda even shows what was in the box with Eda's toenails, and that was actually the Palistrom wood, which was... Man, that thing's been absent since freaking, I think Hunting Talisman was the last time we actually saw that, so it's been a hot minute since the Palistrom one's been back in action, so, we don't see what it is that Luce will be carving, but Eda talks about, now is probably a great time to start carving, and it's like, Luce, of course, has a few questions, being like, well, what if it doesn't like me? And King's response being like, you've turned more enemies into friends than I have claws on my hands. And I'm like, looking at King, I'm like, you have 4 claws, technically? Unless your thumbs also count as claws? It's like, it was a weird argument that King had in that situation, but... Why should I argue that? It's just it was so ridiculous and so fun, and of course the episode ends with them starting to carve the Palistrom wood, because Eda obviously would know everything about Palistrom because of her dad, and yeah, so I was man, this was another great episode. I really enjoyed how these episodes, I mean, obviously these episodes are connecting with each other more than previous episodes, but it's just, man, it's really intriguing to see where we're gonna go with this. It's like, how are we gonna stop the Day of Unity? Is it gonna possibly go further than that? Or are we gonna, speaking of which, a great joke was thrown in this episode, and it's definitely was when they knew they weren't gonna get a full season 3, and that was when Luce and Eda are going to the precinct. Eda's like, are you sure you just don't want, I don't know, a day on the beach or something? And Luce is like, we don't have 20 episodes, we don't have 20 more episodes to do this, we gotta go now. It's like, she's not wrong. It's like, we don't have that much time. We have to go now. It's like, just breaking the 4th wall as usual, and it was great. It was a funny moment, but, in terms of the overall episode, it was fun. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited to see where these last 2 episodes are gonna go, because, oh boy. It's like, clouds are on the horizon, and then we have King's Tide, so we'll see just what happens, and yeah. Alright, that's everything for this video. Like I said, sorry if it feels, like I said, I'm moving out today, so sorry if this video is a bit shorter than the previous videos, but, hey. Yeah, okay, with all that said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. And if you want to subscribe. You don't have to. I'm just saying. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.